Hello and welcome to this short video basically covering the looping techniques within Java. Again, this video is aimed at beginners and I am going to do the while and the do while loop in this video, and in a separate video cover the for loops. Again, as I stated before, always realize the purpose of what you are doing within the code in order to ensure that you are using the right techniques. So the purposes of loops, there are several. And obviously, if you think of any more than what I am going to list now, please put them in the comments. One of the more common purposes of a loop is to keep the code at a certain point within the program until either some event or some time lapse or something to that effect has occurred. Another reason would be that you wish to process the contents of either an array list, or walk through a string or some kind of file input, and you need some kind of counter to go through the index-based list at that point in time. So, as I stated before, I'm going to show the while and the do while at this stage, and then in the latter part of this video, maybe accentuate the code by improving on it to make it more meaningful. As I stated before, always start off with simple code, compile, run, see if it runs, and then build on that. So, for the purposes of a while loop and a do while loop, they are very, very similar. But there is one inherent difference which we'll see in a few minutes' time. So the first things first, I'm going to do a simple while loop that will print the values of I from 0 to 10. So the first things first, if I just do a few small things here first and then explain what I am doing. Okay, on line 6, I have declared int I is equal to 0, an integer with the name I, and I've set its value, its initial value at 0. On line 7, I have typed while I is less than or equal to 10. So basically what this is the Boolean test for our while loop, which will be contained between here at the moment, between the two brackets as shown here on lines 8 and 10. And what I will do is just mark that with a comment, end of while loop. Always good to get into the practice of marking comments to mark off specific points of code. Now, this one here will do nothing at the moment. Okay, but if I did a few things here, you can see while I is less than or equal to 10, do whatever is within the brackets between, in this case, between lines 8 and 10. And all I'm doing here on line 9 is printing out I. Now, I will actually run this test or this piece of code, but I want to do it, and I know it won't exactly do what I need it to do. But I want to do it to demonstrate it, because this is what I'm going to demonstrate now is a common problem with encoding, especially beginners. So first of all, I'm going to compile it. Clean and build. It's taking its time to do that. But what basically I'm trying to do is, I hope you can see, is print out I from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So it's still building away there, and the build has been successful. So there's nothing to stop it compiling it. But if I run this, okay, and it's running away there, you can see down here that I'm printing out 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0 constantly, and it seems as if the code is not stopping. And there is a reason for that. The reason for it is that this loop is in an infinite loop. What basically happens with a loop is that if the Boolean test for the loop is true, it will keep on performing the loop until the Boolean test becomes false. So in this case here, while I is less than or equal to 10, we go into our loop and we print out the value of I. But as I stated before, I want to print out the values from 0 to 10 inclusively. I have no piece of code within this to actually increment I. So what we have here is an infinite loop. And obviously infinite loops are one of these things that happens to beginner programmers, and it's so dispiriting to see it. But obviously it's one of these things that even programmers 20 years and running will always come across. So if that does happen within NetBeans, the best thing to do is that if you click on here to click to cancel process, okay, if you click on that and click on it again, it's a bit stubborn. Are you sure you wish to cancel loops intro run? Yes, we do. So what I'm going to do is this is while we're waiting for that to run, you can see build stopped. It stopped. I'm going to add in one more line into here. I++. So what the logic of the code will be is that I will come to line 7. It will see while I is less than or equal to 10. It is because it's 0 at that point in time. System out.println I. So what it will do then is it will print out 0. Then when it comes to line 10, I++, it increments I. It comes down here to the end of the while loop, and it comes back up here to line 7 and does the test again. I's value will now be 1. That is still less than or equal to 10, so we will go in and repeat line 9 and 10. To actually show this happening, what I will actually do is print out a simple line here outside, which will signify that we have reached the outside of the loop. Okay, and I just want just a small little digression. Obviously, aligning of code and so forth. So if you want to get the lining of your code properly, you right click and just go to format, and it lines it up properly. So again, I will compile this code, clean and build successful, and I will run that code. And you can see here the contents of running that code: 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then outside while loop. Okay, so the purpose of it obviously is that the loop goes round and keeps on going around until the test, at this case here 7, is false. And just to prove that, I'm going to change this test here while I is greater than or equal to 10. So basically it will come to this line and it will test, is I greater than or equal to 10? In this running of the code it won't be. So we shouldn't see 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 or I being incremented. And what I'll actually do in just to show that is run this code now, clean and build, and run it. No contents of what was inside the loop was printed, and we just went to outside while loop, as you can see here. So we didn't actually go into the while loop because the test was false. So that's the basics of a while loop. Now what I'm going to do here simply is just get rid of this for a while. Sorry, boom boom, sorry for the pun. And then do a do while loop. Using the same criteria. There now, I++. Now, and I'll just fix up this code just a tiny bit. Right, looking here at lines 7 to 10, which is our do while loop, basically you can see that it's similar context to the while loop. But the point being is that the do while loop will get executed at least once, as opposed to the while loop, which may not be ever executed at all. And I will show this in a few seconds time, but I'll just do this simple do while loop that should print out values from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, and then print out, if I actually got rid of that line there, Okay, so I'll compile this, clean and build, and run this. So you've got 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then outside do while loop. Now, the obvious question is, why do you have two of them at all, when the while loop just as well does what the do while loop does? As I stated before, there are several instances where you would use one versus the other. The do while loop will always get executed at least once. And it doesn't necessarily need to be a numeric test or anything to that effect. It can be any kind of test that basically will go to either false, or can either be converted to either a false or a true state. In other words, while I is less than or equal to 10 or whatever to that effect. So basically, when you might use a do while as opposed to a while loop, might be the common answer I always give to that question would be something like a main menu. If you open an application, you know that the main menu will always appear on screen first of all, so you know that that is going to happen. So you might have the whole thing, the whole application embodied within a do while loop that you know it's going to happen, and the test might be while input option is not equal to exit. So that's the whole notion of why you might use a do while as opposed to a while loop. But just to show that actually happening here, the whole notion of that a do while will be executed at least once, rather than the while loop, which may not be executed at all. If you can remember back to the scenario that I did a couple of seconds ago, what I did was simply that I had the while I is greater than or equal to 10. We know that I will never be greater than or equal to 10 at the initial state. But if we look at this here, I is equal to 0. So it comes down here, and it doesn't evaluate anything before it goes into the loop. It would print out I, so we will get a value of 0. I plus plus, I's intrinsic value then will be changed to 1. But then when it comes down to here, while I, which is 1, is greater than or equal to 10, that will be false. So we will not go back up and repeat the loop again. We'll only should see 0 and then outside the do while loop. So if I clean and build and run that, and as is predicted there, 0 outside do while loop. Now, like the switch and everything that we had before us, and I'm going to change this back so obviously we can see this, what I'm going to cover next, is that's all grand and fine doing loops and so forth like that. But one of the big questions obviously is, how do we make it more functional? There's several ways of doing that. Supposing if it was a case that you only wanted to show the odd or even numbers, let's just say for argument's sake the even numbers, we could do it in several different ways, and there's 2 or 3 points which I'm covering here. The first point is that there are several ways of doing the one task, and my point is that just because there's several ways to do it, it doesn't mean that one is more correct than the other. If we look at our code here, you can see on line 8 we print out I, so we should get a value of 0. And then on line 9, I is equal to I plus 2. So what value of I? The value of I will go from 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So we'll be printing out the even numbers. So if I run that, and you can see it here, 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Now that's one way of doing it, but the other way of doing it is the notion of going through all the numbers and only printing out the numbers if it is an odd or if it's an even number, in this case even numbers. My point really is that one of the questions that I always get asked is, can we nest loops with ifs and switches and so forth like that? You can. But what I would do is that going back, if you were a beginner programmer, is obviously get your loops working some way right first of all, see if they're working right, and then improve on them. So in this case here, I'll just check if my loop is actually just printing out all the values from 0 all the way up to 10. So clean and build and run. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 outside the while loop. So reiterating what I want to do, I want to loop through all the numbers between 0 and 10 inclusively and only print out the even numbers. So realistically, I have to kind of ask myself there, okay, if I want to do that, I have to put something into the do while loop that will only print out the number if it is even. Okay, so what I need to do is put in an if statement in here. So I'll write out the if statement now. I modulus 2 is equal to 0. Now, there's a few things which I needed, and you might see as I'm navigating down through it. I'll just explain what line 8 is doing, but also to notice one thing is that's very, very important. If you're nesting within different constructs, i.e. putting an if within a switch within an if, a do while within a while loop, an if within a while loop or whatever, be careful when you're using any of the IDEs that they can place automatically the brackets in the wrong place, so you may have to manually put them in yourself, which I had done there. You could see that I was moving the cursor down there to a line 11. So you can actually see that the if statement controls lines 9, 10, and actually I've made a mistake here, and I'll run this anyway. I'll run this, and what was I going to say, that we should be able to see that there is a mistake here, but I'll run it just to show this mistake. Effectively, I want to see, yes, I could see that mistake there, and this is I suppose I'm even my own stupidity here to hopefully help you that we are stuck in an infinite loop. But the point is why are we stuck in an infinite loop? Now, obviously, we can break down the logic and so forth like that. But if we look here at line 8, if I modulus 2 is equal to 0. Now, if you remember back, modulus, what modulus does is that it will give us the remainder. So what I'm saying here, if I modulus 2, in other words, 0 divided by 2, there is no remainder. 0 divided by anything gives you 0. 1 modulus 2 will give us a remainder of 1. 2 modulus 2 will give us a remainder of 0. 3 modulus 2 will give us a remainder of 1. I think you get the pattern. But basically I'm saying here is that this will help us out print out the even numbers. But it is the positioning of line 11, the bracket on line 11, that is effectively messing up this and causing the infinite loop. And I'll explain that now. If we go through the logic, if I modulus 2 is equal to 0, so we've got our first number 0. Print out 0, I plus plus, so we go to 1. Okay, so we'll come down here while 1 is less than or equal to 10. We come back up here, and if we hit the if statement, 1 modulus 2 is not equal to 0, so we never can actually go in and actually increment I. So what we should have done was place the bracket up here. And again, this comes back with practice and so forth like that. It's not a case of just seeing it straight off. Loops are very, very troublesome. Okay, so basically I'll run this one here now again because it's an infinite loop. I must stop the current process running. So click on to cancel current process. Are you sure you wish to cancel loops intro? Yes, I do. Will stop. So I will build the project, clean and build, and I will run it. And you can see that the output here now is correct. The output is correct. Okay, just to explain why the output is correct now, is going through it. Do if I modulus 2 is equal, in the loop then, if I modulus 2 is equal to 0, so the first value of I will be 0. So 0 modulus 2 will be equal to 0. Print out the value of I. So that will be 0. Then when we come out of the if statement here on line 11, I++, so we go to a value of 1. We come down here to the end of the while loop, while I is less than or equal to 10. So if that's true, we go back up to line 7 and repeat the next iteration of the loop. So in the next iteration of the loop, I will be equal to 1. So it goes down there to line 8. 1 modulus 2. Is that equal to 0? It's not. So don't print out that value, but then go outside of the if loop and so forth like that, and then increment I. Okay? Then, obviously, I will be 2. It will come back around. 2 modulus 2 is equal to 0. Yes, it is. So print out a value of 2. Go in, and then increment I again, and obviously keep on going all the way up along, and as we have down here. Now, obviously, I've covered a lot of things here, and obviously what I am trying to get across to people is a few things. Number one, incrementally build your programs for a start. Don't go trying to write everything first of all and then build it and then run it. Even if it's a case of seeing the loop and supposing if the loop was 1 to 10,000, just run it and see if you are actually getting the values within the loop. And then if you have to do something on each of those values, i.e. print out every number divisible by 7 and by 9, then do that. But at least get your loops working correctly first of all. Now I hope this has been of some use. And again, if there's any questions or any comments or any suggestions, please leave them in the comments. Again, as I stated at the onset of this video, I will be covering the for loop in the next videos. I'll also hopefully go into the whole notion of producing videos for people further down the line, not necessarily intermediate level, but what I'm be looking at is introducing a few videos to explain the components of a class. Okay, so until the next time, please continue on coding, and basically if there's any questions, leave them in comments. Any suggestions for any videos, please leave them there too. I won't go the usual like and subscribe. If you like it, do. If you don't bother. But more importantly is get coding, keep coding, and don't worry. As I state to every member of my class all the way through, your computer is not connected to a nuclear power station. So if you make a mistake in your code, you won't be seeing mushroom clouds in the distance. Okay? The only way that you will get somewhere decent at coding is by practice. Not by reading, not by watching videos like this or anybody else, but by practice. Okay? So until the next time, lads, take care and have a good one.